Hello everybody on YouTube land, another video for you today, and today I'm talking to you about the first 10 horror films I ever watched. The very first 10. My friend Sean Bartlett, he was the one who got me into horror films. I had seen a couple of things prior to him, but it was really him that influenced me to watch horror, and I absolutely loved horror. I remember renting them from the video shop, and I was scared I was going to be scared of the videos that we rented. And no, I wasn't. But there were a few that stood out, obviously, over the years. But the very first horror film I watched ever, before even Sean, when I must have been about 6. It was a film, and this is number 1 on the list. They're not in real order, but we're going to try and do the best. The first horror film I ever saw was What Waits Below. And this is a film Robert Powell and Lisa Blount from Loftus and a Gentleman, and they go. And I was fascinated by caves as a young lad, and it's about these people that go down into the caves, and there's something down there with them. A bit like The Descent in a way, but it was obviously about cavemen. But yeah, it's a very good film. It is, but now it's very dated, very dated with the effects, etc. But I still got it. I still can't believe they released it on DVD because it was very hard to come by. But I loved this film. And no, it's not a great film. I can't really recommend it, but it's just more nostalgia than anything. But yeah, it's a good watch if you can find it. Now, years later, we went to the video shop, like I said, and the very first film we rented, and this is very much taboo now, I'm afraid, because of the circumstances around the film that happened at the time of filming. Clown House. And it's got Sam Rockwell in it, and it's about a young lad who is terrified of clowns, and his brother's taken to a circus, and the clown's there. He gets freaked out. He goes home, and then some mental institution people are released by accident, or they escape, and they kill the clowns and go and terrorize his kids in the house. Yes, and I absolutely loved it as a kid. I thought it was fantastic. But now, after all the controversy that's going around about what happened behind the scenes, it's almost difficult to watch in some ways. But the film itself is a very good film, I think so, despite what's going on in the background, if you know what I mean. It's a shame as well. Then, well, I haven't got them individually, I've got the box set, so here we go then. House. House was, I saw the first 3. I never got to see the 4th one when I was younger because they didn't have it at the video shop. But 1, 2 and 3, 1 being probably, I think the second one was my favourite actually, but I liked all of them. I thought they all got their own charm. And yeah, I do like the House films. I don't think they stand as well as they did back then, but they are a bit of fun, and they're not as scary as you think they are. They're more of a comedy aspect to it, but a very nice selection of films there. So the House films was the last one. Yeah. Then, of course, there's Critters. And I remember watching this and laughing my head off when the critters got shot. And the other critters said, "Oh, fuck." I don't know why, that always hit a nerve and always made me laugh. My dad and mum weren't too impressed, but me and Sean, we had a right giggle watching these. And these are great films, and there's a new TV series that's come out, and it's coming out in a couple of months to buy, I believe, so I'll be looking out for that. It looks a bit cheap. Another one that I first watched was called Alligator. And Alligator is a film which I remember at the time thinking, this is nuts. And I haven't seen it in years. I must rewatch this actually, because I just recently picked it up. I saw it in a charity shop for 50p, and I thought, oh my god, I remember that. So yeah, I'll be rewatching that, and I'll do a review on my horror segment on this channel. So yeah, Alligator, that was another film I watched when I was very young. Again, these are films which I can't tell you exactly what order they went in, except for the very first one being What Waits Below, and then Ghost Watch, and not Ghost Watch. Ghost Watch was a TV thing. I think I've got that here somewhere. Ghost Watch. I got it here. There we go. Yeah, Ghost Watch. I watched this on TV and I shat myself. Not really. So after Critters, what did we watch? Well, we watched the very first Leprechaun film. And Leprechaun, I'm the Leprechaun. I really, really liked it. I thought it was the character was quite funny and scary. And Warwick Davis was fantastic in the part. And Jennifer Aniston was hot. And yeah, I really loved this as a kid. So yeah, great first film. The other ones are interesting. Of course, everybody horror fan watches this when they were young. Surely, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street is Wes Craven's classic with Robert Englund in the leading role, and the only one who could play Freddy. Really, let's be honest. Yes, really good. It's a classic. So what can I say? It's a good film. It's one of the first ones I watched. I remember I went around my friend Sean's house once again. He was my horror go-to guy, and Predator, come on. Now, is it a horror film? Yes, there is elements of horror in it. It starts off like an 80s action film, and it turns into a sci-fi horror film. So it's definitely going on the horror section for me. I think this is a fantastic movie, one of the best movies ever made. Of course, Predator, and then of course, Aliens. Aliens, not Alien, Aliens was the first one I saw of the Alien franchise, and it was a blockbuster, action-packed, science fiction, extravagant horror film. That was quite OTT, and I love it. It's a classic. It's one of the best sci-fi horror movies ever made, but I do think the first one, even though it's not as action-packed, it has something about it. I think it has that elegant filmmaking in it. We all know this is coming, so I'll leave that to last. Nightbreed. Nightbreed is, without a doubt, an absolute classic. Clive Barker's best, in my opinion. Although Hellraiser is probably his best, this is my favourite, and I do love Nightbreed. And yeah, I went to a recent screening. I'll link down below to that video where I went to the screening. And I met Nicholas Vince, and he was an absolute legend. What a lovely chap. And yeah, so Nightbreed, I remember wanting to watch this when I was a young lad, and Mum's like, no, I went in there. And, and then years later, I found it, and oh my God, I loved it. And it is, honestly, it is one of the best horror movies, fantasy movies ever, in my opinion. So that's 10 films, but there are a few that obviously were watched around the time, like Stephen King's It. I watched this 100 times, I swear. I rented this more times than any other horror movie because of the kids, the characters, the story, the interaction, the come-of-age story. It's just wonderful, and I can't wait for part 2 of the new movies. I love the original, and I love the new ones as well. So there we go, guys. That is my my first 10, and a couple of others sprinkled in for good measure. First 10 horror movies ever watched. And here's part of the video where I don't expect a response, but I'm going to try anyway. I am going to nominate 3 YouTubers to tell me their first 10 horror movies. So the first one is Bronco Juggalo. I hope I said that correctly. Forgive me if I did not. The second one will be The Fat Samurai. And make sure you check out these guys' channels, they're fantastic. And the third one will be Big Paulie. There you go then. So guys, I want you to tell me what's the first 10 horror movies you watched that you can remember, because obviously this is going back a bit for some of you. I'm not being rude. I just said that you're old, haven't I? That's really rude. No, I'm just saying that if you're horror film fans like I am and watched them years ago, and I'm 36 and I've struggled to find out what were the very first few I watched, and it took going through my collection to realise, yes, that was definitely it. So there we go then, Bronco Juggalo, Fat Samurai and Big Paulie. Tell me, what are your first 10 horror films you watched, and do you still watch them now? Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, as usual. Will be more horror videos to come soon. I do love doing horror, as it's one of my favourite franchises. Genres, I should say. So, and there's, as you can see, this is just a sample of my horror collection. I've got far much more, trust me. So, yes, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, please like, share and subscribe. Tell me down below in the comments, what is your favourite horror movie, and what was the very first horror movie you ever saw? Alright guys, take care now and see you soon.